So, recording started. The first part of class, we are going to be making a target object. Here's the behaviors of it. When you press the screen, three concentric circles, right, are drawn. It's randomly determined how many concentric circles there are. For example, the one in front of you right now in the lower right-hand corner of the screen has two concentric circles of random colors. When I click, here's one random circle. There's three random circles. And together they make a target. That's the first half. We're going to code this together to get you started on the DICE assignment, getting used to object-oriented programming, defining your own classes. As we're working through these examples, you should be thinking about, okay, how does this apply to my die class? Like one dice, one die. Okay. And hopefully at this point you will have created a row of dice. When you create one row of dice, you're not too far from making a grid of dice, right? Rows and columns. There's a cup from my old company, right? It's funny because Meg Whitman, the CEO of this company, was giving out cups on the split, and they said, just take one. You know what I did? I took two. I went back in line. Okay, so second half of class, there is it's a pretty nice cup. It's a much bigger than my normal cup that I have, but yeah, has HP on it. So second half of class is a Quizizz. Depending on how fast this first half takes, the amount of time for review may vary. We may not get there. We may get there, but the main focus is the target. Okay. So you thought about a target. You're thinking about what it means to be a target. You're thinking, okay, it could be just three coins on top of one another minus the flipping part, right? So I hope you're seeing similarities in all these objects we're doing. So sorry, I'm so used to just these coding sessions that often I forget about the slides over here. So the die assignment, right, 9 by 9 rows and columns is what's required, and the sum of all dice down here, okay? We kind of did an example of this yesterday or 2 days ago when we summed up the number of heads, right? I think that's where we stopped the last class. Slides are here for a reason because there is stuff that I was surely going to forget. The AP test registration window has opened up. So if you click on this website, for the people that have done it before, I'm going to take your word for it because this is my first time doing this registration thing. If you click there, you enter in your information, which includes your student ID, your names, and your email, I think, your student email. Then you see some other things, and you have to pay money for tests, right? But you go here as the website. If you need, here are the fees, 100 per exam. I think it might be a little more, 110 or something, right? Late fees, so get it done before October. And then for your reduced lunch, you should have received an email, I think, from Miss Nam, one of the counselors. And she would have told you you would just pay $10 per exam. If you need help paying for it, the Alumni Association is offering scholarships. And I'm thinking for my AP classes that it might be worth it because I know the essay writing might be hard. Let's take a look at this application. You should have like a paragraph or something on why you need it, right? We're going to cheese the system, okay? So if you're game, I'm game. We can create a template essay thing, right? Gross income. Do they need thing? Oh, never mind. Okay. So I don't know if I can proceed forward with this. All right. I am student D, right? Whatever, right? Take this. There's 12 people in my house come. I made a total of $12. I hate when like these Google Forms do this to me, right? As long as I don't submit, then I didn't really mess up anything. Ah, yes. Explain the, oh no, never mind. Income tax return, is this required? Okay, I gotta stop. So if there is an essay portion, we can create like a template of sorts to get that going. Let it not be the essay or any writing or any paragraph you have to submit that stops you from submitting this application. The Alumni Association wants to give you money, and they have a giant checklist of things that like qualifies you for there. So they just need that information. I strongly recommend you do this now, do it early, so that you get financial aid. All right, and then we're back to this class, okay? Email me if you have questions. I will find out the answers for you with regards to registering for the AP test. I don't know if these slides will occur as much, right? Because I will try to use them during the live coding sessions while we're debugging. But the main thing to point out is system.out.println doesn't work in GitHub. So it may break your program sometimes if you leave in system.out.println somewhere. Like when you're summing up your dice, for example, you may just display it in your console, right? System.out.println the sum. You want to change that to text and display it to the screen rather than leave it there. It may break your program. One of the common issues when moving your program from processing on your computer to GitHub, your website. That's the main idea. Naming conventions don't matter as much. Okay, and then we go on to the good stuff, right? We're gonna code up a target. So here's all the space, okay? And from the very beginning, all right? So a target, I went over the requirements. Class is a keyword, target, capital T. If you had more than one words, remember camel case, right? Target, I am making. But we don't want such a long name. We're just gonna leave it target. What does it mean to be a target? You have some member variables, right? Those are variables that belong to the object. Like before, you have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. We've just declared it here. The number of circles is randomly generated. It's not information that we're going to store, but if you wanted to store the number of circles, you could also create an integer to hold it, and it would also be a member variable. For a target, this is the constructor. The fancy initializer, we're going to give it two things, just like we do with the coin. We got to tell it where the circle is going to be drawn. So my x is at the x coordinate, my y is at whatever y coordinate the user gives you. My spacing is very odd. I don't appreciate it. Methods. What does it mean for a target? It just has one, and that's going to be to show yourself to the screen. And temporarily, we'll just draw an ellipse at a certain spot, my x, my y, and just to see that my code is running, I'm just going to make 50-50, right? I need to see that I can actually get an ellipse to show. Cleaning up my code a little bit for organization's sake, and constructor, and show, and target class. All right. Why doesn't it like this? My x does not exist. Did I misbalance some parentheses? No, I declared it up here. Anyone catch my mistake? You don't need the parentheses. Yeah, there's my JavaScript thing. Thank you. I made that mistake the other class time. Good catch. Cool. So yellow is okay. Thank you. There is no parentheses at the very top. It's just class target squiggly brace. I think that's my JavaScript knowledge. Notice, as of right now, if you defined your class, right, this is bare bones, like a target class. It just draws a circle. When we press play, very common issue is you expect to see a circle, but you don't see anything to the screen. You're like, my program's broken. Well, you haven't made a target yet. You haven't told that specific target, whatever name you want to call it, like Bob, you haven't told them to show yourself to the screen. So this is the expected output. You don't have a setup function. We don't have a draw function yet defined. And this is the stuff that draws it to the screen. And here, it's like your canvas, okay? So I expect a bigger window now. Cool. I'm going to make the background a grayish color. Cool, it's darker. And then here, right, if I just want to see that my program's working, right, I see a circle in the middle, right, ellipse, boom. Nice. So everything's good so far. Now I'm going to test out my target object. Is it actually there? So that looks like target the name of your class, Bob equals new target. And this is going to vary, right? It depends on what your constructor has. For us, it's two coordinate numbers, right? The x coordinate and the y coordinate. It tells you yellow because just initializing or just declaring and initializing this Bob target object, we haven't told it to show itself, so we don't see anything to the screen. Bob.show, this method, this member function, has to be called to see that circle onto the screen. Now you know that the code that you wrote for the target class is working. Okay? So that's how you get started on the die class, right? You need setup and draw still to draw it to the screen. Next part, we're thinking, okay, now we add in the more complicated things. We're going to draw concentric circles. What does that look like? It all goes into the show function. I'm thinking, okay, I probably need a loop. I'm going to stop it after a certain point. I'm not sure just yet. It's for sure going to draw some circles. The centers is in fact the same. But now we think, for my show class, right? It generates something up until a random number, right? That could be 1, 2, or 3. So over here, math.random, and then we need to generate a number that goes from 1 to 3. So that's times 3 plus 1, I think. Check me on this. Int, right? For a cast, to have it do some funny rounding. How's that look? Does this give me a random number between 0 and, no, between 1 and 3? 0, 1, 2, plus 1, 1, 2, 3. I think so. And then it will repeat this ellipse code. But notice for a target, you draw the biggest circle first, then you shrink it, then you shrink it. Yeah? So the size is probably going to have to change. Notice that while I'm, oops, don't forget the third part of my loop, right? Notice here, the I variable just exists inside show. This is the idea of scoping or a local variable. Previously, we were defining variables up here, right? Like int A, B, and C. When you declare it at the very top, outside of everything, these are called global variables. And this idea is that they're global. Everyone in the world knows these variables A, B, and C. Everyone can use them, access them, change them, modify them, global. When it's local, it's a much smaller scope, right? It's like global versus just the US, right? So inside the show function, we have I. I only exist inside the show function. And when you exit the show function, like over here, that disappears. No longer does the computer recognize the variable I. It doesn't exist in the computer. It's a small idea that will come up again and again, and I'll try to emphasize that when I can. Let's make another local variable that just exists for the show function that will help us control size. Notice the word size is already reserved for the canvas, so we're going to define it as siz, size. If I start it big, right, and then we're going to subtract it, do I actually need a variable? Maybe. Let's see. Okay. So still, it's like a bigger circle that's now drawn to the screen. At the moment, it's going to repeat itself on top of one another of the same size. That's okay. I think I want to press play once, and let's see what happens. So I get a big circle. I press play again. It's still that same big circle. I still don't know whether there's like 1 or 2. Size equals size minus, what do you think, 20? So I'm like hypnotizing you. Ooh, okay. So now they're always the fixed size, but we see the targets every so often. It's flashing constantly because the draw function is repeating itself again and again. Bob is initialized, Bob is shown. randomly generated 3 circles or not, and then repeat, 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 repeat. If you don't want that behavior, let's type in no loop. And now we should see, cool, there's a circle. I press the play button again, it generates things again. Now there's just 2 circles. 3 circles. Or 1 circle, my bad. Nice. Last part, add some random color. Fill math.random 3 times 255. 0 to 255. Yeah, that should be good. Int. And once I finish this part, I think we've accomplished the objective. Cool. There's 2. There's 3. I don't know it's going to be 3. There's just 1. There's 1. Come on, give me 3. Okay, there's 2. Okay, you get the idea, yeah? We've created a target object just to get you used to the procedure. And you can modify this as you will. Monday, we may talk about a clover object on the number of leaves that a clover has. Okay, and you can add in the mouse pressed if you want to. Totally optional. Questions?
Can you scroll down a bit so we can see the setup?
There we go. Yep. Let's see, what do I have to say? I can like convince you, or do you need convincing? Maybe, yeah. So like one of the slides mentioned system.out.println. This is how we see and peek into some variables, like where is the x coordinate for Bob? When we press play, down here in the console, each time it's drawn, you'll see a number, right? So the center is at 150. When I press play again, the color should change. I should see a different number of circles. We see 150. Bob exists, right? It's tied to this, right, the objects. Notice the variable size with no e. That thing, this thing's going to give us an error. Yeah, it says variable does not exist. Okay, that's because we declared it locally to the show function that belongs to a target object. Okay, so it already complains. It says this does not exist. Why? It's a scoping issue. It's a local variable that doesn't exist inside the draw function. But we can put it like in here. This is okay because size does exist inside the show function. If you put it up here, it's going to complain. It says it doesn't exist because it hasn't been declared yet. Even up here in target, that doesn't work. If you have it dangling like after show, it's going to complain too because this squiggly brace like causes the size variable to disappear. You're done showing yourself, so it's going to clear that up. The same applies to the variable I, right? Oops, I. Okay, it doesn't even like that code that's dangling. It doesn't belong to anything. Okay, so when you press play, you're going to see the size coordinate repeat itself again and again. Well, just 3 times, right? Because it doesn't, we only loop once. In addition to the, yeah, that's expected. You see 50, 30, and then you see the x coordinate, these 3 numbers. Okay. Questions on the target class? I hope you're more comfortable making objects. It's going to be throughout this course like objects till the very end. We will now go to the quizzes. We got roughly 12 minutes. Please join this quizzes here. I'll leave it up for you to work on, and any remaining time, any remaining time afterwards, I will go and, oh gosh. What did I do? Okay, so I'm gonna copy and paste. Did you want this code in the chat? Okay, so and then here's my processing code. Oh, nuts. Fired. The target code is in the slide, 8182. Okay, sorry. Did I close the wrong one? Are you all still here? Yeah, you are. Okay, great. So you can use that as your reference. Oh, 38 people? What? How is that possible? People join multiple times? All right, we're going to start. I think you can still join when the thing is running. Go.